Tony, so let's get started. But first, our traditional reminders. Please do not ask two-parted questions. It'll make it impossible for us to get to as many of you as possible. And we'd appreciate you keeping the topics focused on AEW All in London. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tony for some opening thoughts, and then we're going to open the lines for your questions. Tony, good evening.
Good evening, Jim. Thank you very much, and thank you, everybody, for joining us. I'm really excited about this week. This is my absolute favorite week of the year. It's going to be such a great time here in London, and I'm excited to talk to all of you. This is a great part of that week, and I'm excited to get all your questions ahead of the question and answer part of our traditional session here. I did want to address one thing before we begin. I just wanted to address some reports regarding AEW potentially running an event in Australia. We can confirm that we're currently looking at various locations in Australia to potentially run an event sometime next year in 2025. We'll have more information about this in the near future. 2025 is going to be a milestone year. Just as this is a milestone year, I think 2025, even more great milestones to come. I'm excited to talk to you all right now about AEW All In. And in 2025, we just announced All In will be coming to Globe Life Field next July. And I want to thank our partners at Rev Entertainment, Texas Rangers, Mayor Jim Ross, and that Arlington Sports Commission in Texas for helping to make all that possible. It's a really exciting time for us, and excited to talk to all of you about what's to come this week with All In. AEW All In London at Wembley Stadium, just days away. I thought we had a great debut Dynamite in Europe, our first ever UK Dynamite, our first ever Dynamite outside of North America last night, and I thought it was a tremendous show as a go-home Dynamite ahead of this big pay-per-view weekend. I'm really looking forward to the weekend television also, and of course, the big enchilada that is AEW All In. And with that, Jim, let's start the questions.
Strong start there, Tony. Here we go. Andrew Baydala from Final Bell Media will lead us off, and I'm going to ask Joe Torres from Contralona to be on deck. Andrew, you lead us off.
Drew, are you there?
Andrew?
Drew, I think you need to unmute yourself. There you go.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Hey, what's up, Drew?
Hey, Tony, sorry, wouldn't let me unmute myself. Thanks for taking the time. Good luck on Sunday.
Sure.
Congratulations on the over 50,000. I've noticed in recent interviews you've mentioned that AEW will be back in the UK in 2025. Considering what you just said and the incredible crowd turnout and enthusiastic audiences, especially last night, that we've seen in the UK, it seems like the ideal market to bring more events to. With that in mind, is AEW considering bringing a pay-per-view and television back to England in 2025 or the UK?
Certainly on the table. Definitely something we would consider. I absolutely love the UK. I've spent a lot of my life living in England and specifically in London. And I absolutely love it. It's great being back here, and it's great traveling in the UK. And in this case, it was our first ever AEW show in Wales, and the first time we've done TV in the UK at all. It's really exciting, and there's so many great cities throughout the UK. And, you know, I've driven all around London and you know, from Fulham, not only playing all the great teams here in England, but also traveled to Wales for football, you know, many times. And there's lots of great cities all over the UK. And I know from experience in English football, there are a lot of great towns with really passionate fans, and that this is a great place to be. And you see it in wrestling that that crowd last night was just magic, and they were tremendous for Dynamite, and I'm really excited for people to see Collision this weekend with that Cardiff crowd. And it's all a big preview of what's to come this weekend. There's going to be a huge crowd at Wembley Stadium. It's going to be one of the biggest pro wrestling crowds we've ever seen, and it's going to be certainly a historic night for AEW. mentioned leading into this pay-per-view. But what's ahead in 2025? And absolutely, to answer your question, I do think that would be something that would be on the table for 2025, more events in the UK where we've had great success with AEW. Thanks for asking.
Thank you, Andrew. Joe Torres from Contralona is next, to be followed by Jason Powell from Pro Wrestling Net. Joel.
Everything is okay. You just mentioned next year's All In Texas. Can we have a background about how this idea came up to? Why Texas after 2 years in a row in London? Obviously, this All In Texas being the first event in a big stadium in the United States. Thank you.
Well, we've had some great experiences. I think some of my greatest experiences as a wrestling promoter, I know some of my greatest experiences as a wrestling promoter have been in Texas, and I thought that that would make a lot of sense. You know, All In is a massive event, and it's been the perfect place for the first 2 years of AEW All In at London Wembley Stadium. We absolutely love it here. This weekend is going to be massive, and it shows the scope of this event. For years, people have asked, when is AEW going to bring a pay-per-view to Texas? And I always wanted to bring a massive event, and we brought the biggest event possible with AEW All In coming July 12, 2025 to Texas. Of course, we're days away from AEW All In 2024, and now we know what to expect. And I have every expectation we can fill up Globe Life Field, just as we brought these great crowds here in London. And I think that the way it came about, there's a lot of really great people working here, and for a long time I've wanted to do a pay-per-view in Texas personally, and this made a lot of sense with this opportunity. And Koche Irby, the COO of AEW and the great live events team here, had this idea. And when I recruited Koche from Clemson University, where he was the CMO and had past experiences working in wrestling, this was an initiative he felt really strongly about. It's something I've always wanted to do. As a wrestling historian myself and a wrestling promoter, it means a lot to be able to do that. And I can also confirm now, officially today, as a wrestling promoter in London this weekend, that I'm going to be bringing some of that great Texas tradition here to London this weekend, because I can confirm that the Von Erichs will be here this weekend, and it means so much to me ahead of a big event like this to have the Von Erich family here, a part of it with us in AEW, because AEW is a family, and it's great to have them with us. And going into All In next year, I hope they'll continue working with us, and it's an honor that they had us in their territory, the Von Erichs, and great to have them here at AEW All In London, and looking forward to a big year in Texas next year as well, and all eyes on London this weekend too. Thanks for asking.
Thanks, Joel. Jason Powell from Pro Wrestling Net is next, to be followed by Jim Barcelone from Miami Herald. Jason.
Recent head here, we'll say. It seems like you're pretty happy with WBD and Max these days. I'm actually curious about the exclusive negotiating window. Did you ever run past that exclusivity period? And if so, how much interest has there been from other potential network and even streaming partners?
It's a very fair question, and I think it's absolutely right for you to ask that. I am in a very exciting time personally and professionally right now with everything happening in AEW. Very excited about the show this weekend, but there's a lot of things happening in the office and meetings off-site and phone calls, and it's an exciting time. And the Warner Brothers Discovery relationship has been very strong for us. Including this summer, I was able to go to Paris and spend a lot of quality time with Mr. David Zaslav and Bruce Campbell and the executive team. And there's a really great relationship between AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery, and it's never been stronger. It's really in a great place. And as for exclusive negotiating or talking to other parties, I prefer not to get into any of that or talk about it. I think we have a really good thing going, and I think we have also, frankly, I hope, AEW a good relationship with the wrestling media. At least I try my best to be accessible and talk about things when we can. But right now, with the company in an exciting time where, there's been a lot of reports, a lot of things said, but I do think everybody is starting to get a sense that there's a lot of excitement around AEW as a hot property. It was the #1 show on television last Wednesday night on all cable and satellite, and has continued to really not only perform strongly as a television product, but also continue to create huge new revenue streams and opportunities, and also that has just been having great shows and on a string of really, I think, great TV shows. I'm really proud of this run of Dynamite. I think since Forbidden Door, leading into Wembley, the TV has been excellent, in my opinion. I'm really proud of it, and I think there's been a lot of great pay-per-views and a lot of great shows this year, and I know that AEW All In this weekend is going to be absolutely tremendous. So as a wrestling promoter and a creative person in wrestling, I'm very excited about what's happening in AEW, but as a business person, also very excited about growing this business, because we have great opportunities out there, and we're very blessed to work with a great partner like Warner Brothers Discovery that's treating us incredibly well in these negotiations right now. And it's a very complex negotiation. I mean, it's not as simple as shaking hands and slapping a couple numbers down on paper. There's a lot of things to figure out, and it's an exciting time for us to hopefully create some very new opportunities to grow AEW in exciting new ways, and build on top of what we've really done over the past 5 years. Thanks for asking, Jason.
Thank you, Jason. Jim Barcelone from the Miami Herald is next, and I will follow Jim with a write-in from John Powell from Sam Wrestling. First, Jim.
Hey, thanks everybody. This will be really exciting. AW All In, London. Always a hot crowd there too. I'm curious because on the card, you have 3 matches focusing on women, and that's cool. And out of that, Dr. Baker's back, and Mercedes Moné's had a time with Tony Storm, Mariah May, what they've been doing, Willow Nightingale, Chris Statlander. Camille, that's the one, a blue chipper. What are your thoughts of adding Camille to the roster, and even her being a part of this?
Well, Camille's a great part of the roster in AEW now, and we love having Camille the Brickhouse here in AEW. She has been instrumental in Mercedes Moné's dominance since, in particular this past month. And we've seen a lot of interactions with Camille and Dr. Britt Baker. We've seen a lot of interactions with Mercedes Moné and Dr. Britt Baker. It's an exciting time, an exciting program. And, Camille being involved here is great. And like you said, there's a lot of great things happening. And I'm really blessed to work with this great roster and the great team we have in AEW. And I feel really good about the shows. I've been really happy about each of those matches you named. And I think it's been a long time in the making. It's so excited about Timeless Tony Storm versus Mariah May to come to London, and a story that's been ripped straight from the West End, and a story that has come from the hills of Hollywood to here in London. This awesome opportunity for AEW to have this great AEW Women's World Championship match with Tony Storm and Mariah May, and tell the story. Timeless Tony Storm's rise since last year's AEW All In has been meteoric, and we've seen the evolution into Timeless Tony Storm, one of my personal favorite stars in all of wrestling, and somebody I really believe in, and her former protege, Mariah May. It's been a story a long time coming, and it's crazy to think how far it's come in a year. But it's something I've thought about and wanted to see here at Wembley Stadium in this spot for over a year now, and have thought and worked and planned with our great team. And then to have, like you said, it's tremendous to have Dr. Britt Baker and Mercedes Moné, 2 of the top stars, going one-on-one, to have the DMD versus the CEO for the TBS title. That's tremendous. And that, AEW All In is the place for these huge dream matches, and that's a match I think a lot of fans have wanted to see for a long time. 2 of the top rising stars in women's pro wrestling, Dr. Britt Baker, AEW's original homegrown star, taking on Mercedes Moné, one of the biggest free agent acquisitions ever for the TBS Championship. One of them is going to be the face of AEW on TBS going forward. forward. I'm so excited about the DMV versus the CEO of the TBS title. I think it's a huge match, and we've seen a lot of interest in it from everything on TV, Dynamite, Collision this past week, and also Comic-Con and outside of wrestling. So that's tremendous, and Willow and Chris Statlander continued to build that rivalry. The former friends, we've seen a lot of great matches, and I'm excited for this, and we'll be excited to see two wrestlers with very little in common with either of them or with each other, and Tomohiro Ishii and Sophie Hathaway involved as well. It should be a great show. I'm really proud of what we're doing in AEW, top to bottom. The women and men in this company, all of them are doing a fantastic job, and the men and women here are going to put on a great show this weekend with AEW All In, top to bottom.
Thank you, Jim. Tony, here's a write-in from John Powell from Slam Wrestling, and then Amy Nemedy from WrestleJoy will follow. John's question is pretty simple. How proud are you at being able to highlight many UK talents during the show?
Well, that's a great question. I'm very proud. We have some top wrestlers in AEW who are from the UK and have competed extensively in the UK, and it's something I'm very proud of. You know, you want to have those homegrown stars. Just like in the Premier League, there's a league of top stars from all over the world competing in this elite sporting league, and you want to have the homegrown stars, and you want to have the top competition, the top stars. They come from all over the world to play in the Premier League or wrestle in AEW. That's great to have the homegrown stars too. And here in London specifically, but also all around England and the UK, there's top wrestling and some of the most passionate, exciting wrestling fans. I've gone to wrestling shows all over England, and I love pro wrestling here, and it was great to have AEW make our debut in Wales last night as well. And it's great to be able to feature a lot of the great UK wrestlers on the AEW roster, and I think the fans, when we're wrestling, doing the Dynamite, Collision, Rampage, and pay-per-views, the large percentage of them take place across North America and US and Canada, and, you know, week in, week out, you still see top UK wrestlers on the show, and then when we come here to Europe and wrestle in the UK, there's so much excitement when AEW is in town or